experience mini version for UFC Sydney. DraftKings picks and preview. Cody Saftic from the Fight Network.
That was
Here with me.
Very good Australian accent.
Well, is my Australian accent also doubles as my South African accent and my British accent too. Apparently, it's all just Australian.
It's pretty much the same, yeah.
I saw Jim Jeffries this weekend, so it's stuck in my mind.
Yeah, I know. Whenever I always try to go, everyone was always like, "Oh, the crocodile hunter," or "That's not a knife. This is not." But I always think, "No, that's not. That's a spoon."
It's a spoon.
I say you've played knifey spoony before.
Coming off a good week.
Coming off a good week, which we needed after UFC 217.
A really bad week, then a really good week. So now somewhere in between for UFC Sydney?
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, ideally we want to come out here and we want to have 6 good picks. Or at the very least, we want to give you two, 3 good value
Building
picks.
block picks, yeah.
Of course. Last week was a good week. If Junior Albini wouldn't have been Big Baby in that fight, then things would have been astronomically good. But all the same, yeah, I mean, it was a pretty solid week. And moving on to that, those big pay-per-views are so analyzed. I mean, you have people that you naturally gravitate towards, the Joanny and Jaceks. I mean, I would pick this girl 10 out of 10 times. Obviously blew up in my face. These lesser-known cards where you have lesser-known talent, that's where you'll find the real value. And I liked last week's card, and I do like this week's card as well.
It's funny because Feinberg and I were talking about this when he was in here earlier, that we always kind of say, like, you know, the golf majors. People love betting on the golf majors, but we always make our money at, like, these scummy events.
For sure. Listen, I mean, if you're at the Masters, right, you might have a play that you like at the Masters, but everybody's good there.
Yeah.
Whereas these lesser events, you got, like, John Rahm or something. It's
John
like,
Rahm's good!
He's not bad, but he wins these lesser tournaments, right?
We'll see about that. We'll see about John Rahm.
Are you rolling him again here?
Well, he's top 10 in the world.
You always get good value on him, too. But,
Yeah.
hey, I don't really know much about golf other than John Rahm's not bad. However, this should be a lot easier.
If you want the full fight-by-fight breakdown, if you go to the Pat Mayo Experience feed, you can check out the Dogger Pass podcast.
Dogger Pass podcast, that's right, where you take the dog or you pass. In all seriousness, there's some good favorites here, too. But, yeah, no, that's a long-time saying from me and Paul Shaughnessy. So, yeah, if you want to stick around, you want to listen to the hour-plus long format, we will break down every fight in depth.
Yeah, that's audio only for the moment. These are the quick picks, so let's make them quick.
Okay, let's start off with Alex Volkanovski. I mean, this is the low-hanging fruit here, Pat. First of all, he's $9,500, and he averages 110 points per start. So
what are his odds here?
He's a big favorite,
Like minus 1,000?
No, minus 650, right?
Okay.
And I expect it to get bigger. The thing here is that we're supposed to fight Jeremy Kennedy, who's actually a Canadian fighter out of British Columbia. And that would have been a fun fight that Volkanovski more than likely would have won. Jeremy Kennedy's like, I'm hurt. Can't take this guy in his own backyard, by the way. Volkanovski's from Australia. I mean, I think he's got a Greek heritage, but from Australia. So this fight's scrap. All of a sudden, they get another replacement. Okay, you know what? We got somebody else. Ooh, that guy got hurt too. A third replacement. This guy's Filipino. The government must have been like, buddy, we got your back here. We can't give this guy a visa. Can't fight visa issues. So finally, Sugar Shane Young's coming in. Sugar Shane Young's not bad. He's 24 years old. What I'm really taking from this is that this is a guy that's been fighting professionally for 5 years. Only 24, but he's been fighting professionally for 5 years. I think he's got an 11-3 record, so 14 pro fights into his career. This is the time to step up. You got to step up. He's on a 5-fight winning streak. I want to make it to the UFC. I don't want to toil around and perhaps get hurt or lose on the regional scene in Australia and then not get my crack. So the UFC comes calling. You take it. He's stepping up. I just don't really like this matchup for him. He's lost to lesser talent in the past. He's been beat up by lesser talent in the past. There's a guy also on the card by the name of Damian Brown, who I believe we're going to talk about in a little bit. Damian Brown had a very convincing unanimous decision over this guy. Volkanovski is legit. His wrestling credentials are very legit. He's going to get takedowns for us. And when he gets the takedowns, Pat, he's very short, he's very stocky, he generates a lot of power. And he will just pound guys out, absolutely. So for $9,500, I know he's expensive, but this is the type of card that you can save some legitimate money. I made a couple lineups that had $900 sitting on the table. So
after you used a $9,500 player?
After I used Alex Volkanovski. So I don't mind spending on him.
All right, well, let's go to the bottom then. Who are the guys at the bottom that you're saving all this money with?
Okay. This one, first of all, we'll start off with Bilal Muhammad. Bilal Muhammad's only $7,100.
You take Bilal Muhammad every single time.
And it usually works out pretty good. The thing is, I will admit, if he's going to lose this fight, he could get starched in a minute and a half. And I only say that because of the Vicente Luque fight. This guy's got a cast iron chin. Anybody that's ever seen him compete, he was a former Titan FC champion, he can take one hell of a beating. That's how he fights. But when he came to the UFC, he took on Alan Jouban. And I mean, he gets dropped something like 2 or 3 times in the very first round, Pat. He's on wobbly legs the whole fight. Yet in the third round, he still comes alive. He's usually a 5-round fighter.
He's like Frampton.
Yeah, I mean, he's just really hard to put away. He's got fantastic cardio, fantastic conditioning. That Jouban fight really put a dampen on his record because, oh, wow, I thought Sky was the limit for this guy. I thought he was supposed to be really good, and Jouban beats him up. But Jouban's a top-level guy. Beyond that, he rallies up a couple wins. He beats Randy Brown, and then that Vicente Luque fight. I honestly can't explain that one. I picked Vicente Luque, but I did not think he was going to knock him out in a minute and a half. I just didn't see it coming. So with that, you think with Bilal Muhammad, wow, you know what? Maybe he has taken enough shots that he is weakened, that he is dampened. Not the case. I mean, you look at follow performances for this guy. He's got a great takedown game. He's got a serviceable stand-up game. He's not a knockout puncher. He's not really a submission guy. He's just a beat your ass for 15 minutes kind of guy. And I know when you're looking at a lot of these GPPs, you want that quick finish, but there's no denying that for $7,100, if we get 10 times his value and he scores 71 points, we're surely very happy with that. And I think that's, a basement for him.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get a win out of a $7,100 player, it allows you to stock up on the $9,500 guys who are probably going to get a win in the first round.
And here's what's going to help us a lot here. I mean, he's taking on Tim Means, and Tim Means is a fan favorite because he's just got a balls to the wall style. I mean, the guy literally is the definition of hell on wheels. So people are going to gravitate naturally towards Tim Means. He's got a high price tag. People like these higher guys because if you've got a high price tag, if you don't really watch MMA, you're not a big fight fan, you think, oh, well, he's got a high price tag because he's good. He's going to win. This is why I'm taking him. Not the case here in Tim Means. Tim Means starts out really, really well. If Tim Means goes out there and he butchers you with those nasty elbows of him, I mean, he's the dirty bird. He'll put it on you. But he's also got this problem that the later fights go, if you can take him down, his will tends to break. And when his will tends to break, he kind of gets himself into positions that he could fight his way out of, but he just taps, or he just mentally is not there. I mean, that's kind of what we've noticed from him. He's a guy that used to fight at 155, was a little too big for 55, came up to 170, and even though he's got the size at 170, he's still very skinny. He's a long, skinny fighter. So these guys that are strong, stocky, powerful guys, close that distance on him, they can do that. You don't really want to clinch up with him because he's got nasty elbows, nasty knees, but if you just take him down, especially at the base of the fence, he doesn't necessarily just pop back up. So when I look at Bilal Muhammad, he'll get points just off the takedowns, he'll get points off if he can just pound him, and regardless, if he takes him into the second and third round, he always gets better the longer fights go, and Tim Means, well, he tends to slow down the longer fights go. So I think Bilal Muhammad's got a good shot here, good shot to get the win, possible shot for a stoppage, even though he's not really a stoppage guy, and I recognize that. But for $7,100, I got to take the roll on him.
All right, more cheapos. Roll through these.
More cheapos. We got Damian Brown, $7,800. I'm getting into the cheapest guy in a bit here, but Damian Brown, $7,800. I mean, Damian Brown, there's no denying, fights better when he's in Australia. It's in Australia. He's 32 years old, but he's in fantastic shape. I mean, people think, wow, this guy's a prison guard. He's working 10-hour days, and then he's training at night. Yeah, but he's got an emphasis on just being in great shape all the time. Eats healthy, stays in great shape. He's a BJJ black belt, but his striking's been ever improving. And his last fight out against Vince Pichel, I mean, listen, we earmark Vince Pichel as a must-have, and he did knock out Brown in the first round. But Brown's serviceable, and we've seen that he's got some decent knockouts on his record. It means that Cesar Arzamendia fight, Arzamendia is no good, but the fashion in which he took this guy out, he's extremely serviceable. When he takes on Frank Camacho kind of builds himself as, he's got some heavy striking, and he's good on the ground. But the thing is that he's another one of these guys that just wears out, man. And I really think that Camacho, he's going to come into this situation, he's better on the ground, but he doesn't really shoot to get the fight on the ground. And if he does get to the ground, I mean, he's a good brown belt, but he's taking on a black belt, so that should be nullified. If it stays standing, Camacho's got bigger power, but he doesn't have that same output. And we seen in his last fight, he's flat out gas, man. Decent first round, but in the second and third round against Ning, he just completely falls apart, right? And the guy's called the leech for a reason. He sucks the energy out of you. But that's at 170. Now he's dropping down to 155. And maybe that'll yield him better results because he's not taking on that big of a guy. But at the same time, I really think that dropping down that extra weight class is going to zap his energy. And I think Brown, fighting at home, in front of the hometown crowd, great cardio. He's going to have the rhythm behind him. He's going to have the crowd behind him. I just feel like he's going to be able to do enough. And for the price tag of $7,800, this is more of a cash game play. I will recognize that. However, I think it's a good play. You're getting good value on it.
All right, who else? Last three to round this out here, if you got some quick picks.
Okay, if we got to go really quick, Beck Rawlings, $8,600 against Jessie Jess. This is the case of another short-notice replacement. I mean, they have positioned her to be the co-main event for a reason, and Jessie Rose Clark is just not good whatsoever. She should not be in this spot. She's 3-3 in her last 6, not UFC caliber fighter. They need someone short notice. They need someone from Australia. Hey, let's throw Jessie Jess Rose Clark in here. Not a good idea. She was preparing for an Invicta fight that she was probably going to lose as well, so it's not like she's extremely short notice, but the bright lights are going to get to her. I'm almost 100% sure of that. And with Beck Rawlings, not very good. But if you're going to put her in a perfect spot, this is a perfect spot. 8,600 is a lot, yes. And will she finish? Possibly. But more than likely, it'll be like last week with Nina Ansaroff, where you can win a fight by decision, but just pile up those significant strikes. Hurt this girl, work this girl, get a takedown, go for a couple submissions. I don't care. Those transitional points are great for me. I'll take that. Adam Wazorchek. I mean, listen, if you're playing a GPP, $8,700 on Wazorchek, you have to have him because he's taking on Anthony Hamilton. Anthony Hamilton could win 5 out of 10 fights, but the 5 he loses, he's going to get KO'd in the first round. I mean, that's just the way he is right now. He's tried to retire 2-3 months ago because he got KO'd, and all of a sudden, the lure of one more short notice fight brought him back. He was supposed to fight in Poland. Didn't work out because basically there was his opponent's Polish, and he supports a rival soccer
yes, I
team.
remember this.
Yeah, so the fight got scrapped. They moved it to Australia because it's like, whatever. But Hamilton was going in there to do the job the first time around. I don't think anything changes here. Like I said, though, he can win 5 out of 10 times. If he just holds up with Zorchek against the fence the whole time and just tries to grind him, then there's a possibility that he can win a decision.
So Hamilton has no DraftKings value then. Even if he wins, he's not scoring points.
Exactly. If he wins, it's going to look like the Daniel Milanchuk fight, where he might get a couple takedowns and you might get 10, 15 points based on your takedowns, but hardly any significant strikes, no ground transitions whatsoever, and literally he just doesn't do anything whatsoever. With Adam Zorchek, I mean, he's 9-1. His only loss is to a credible guy that's in the headlining role here, so I mean, he's a good fighter. And beyond that, he lists his best quality as his cardio, relentless cardio. With Anthony Hamilton, it's not that he has bad cardio, it's that typically the more tired he gets, the lower his hands are, he gets clipped, he goes down. And we've seen lesser men knock him out. We've seen Marcel Fortuna, who's a 205er, who had never knocked out a man in his life, knock out Anthony Hamilton. And his last fight, it's Daniel Spitz. I mean, come on, it's Daniel Spitz. Very raw, very green, and he one-punches him in like a minute into the first round. So if you're rolling a GPP especially, I feel like this is a must-have.
One more.
Okay, I'm going to get into this in-depth with Paul Shaughnessy, but Rashad Coulter, man, listen, everybody likes this Tay Tuivasa. Everyone says how good Tay Tuivasa is. Not that good, man. Not that good at all. He's got 5 minutes of cardio, and that is literally it. Mind you, he walks around at 300 pounds, so if he hits Rashad Coulter, there's a possibility he knocks him out. Sure, he's 300 pounds. If he hits anybody, there's a possibility he knocks him out. But he's got 5 minutes to do it, and if he doesn't do it in that first 5 minutes, he's in some serious trouble. Oh, yeah, he's also been off a year because he's ripped 3 ligaments in his knee in his last fight against James McSweeney, who has a pro record of 16 wins and 16 losses and is not a grappling guy whatsoever. I don't think this guy's chalked up to be what he is. He's fairly expensive on DraftKings. If you play multiple lineups, he's 300 pounds. Maybe you sprinkle him in on there. But this guy is not what everybody thinks he is. And with Rashad Coulter, everyone has this just idea of he's so bad, he's so bad, he's so bad, he's so bad. He took the fight with Chase Sherman on a week's notice. It happened to get him because he's from Texas. Had never been tested. But that experience of that UFC debut, that should carry him in a spot like this. People talk about Mark Hunt. They love Mark Hunt. He was supposed to be headlining this card. It's in Australia. Oh, we love Mark Hunt. And Tay Tuivasa, this is Mark Hunt protege. You know what? He's Mark Hunt version 1.0 because he is Mark Hunt 20 years ago and Mark Hunt was no good. Could he be something? Possibly. But right now, not sold on him whatsoever. I would fade him here. Is it a risky fade? Yeah. But for $7,100, $7,400 on Rashad Coulter, I'm going to take a play on that.
Elias is fighting.
Elias is fighting. The problem is, even though I have him picked, he's not a good DraftKings play because he's not going to get the takedowns against Dan Kelly. Dan Kelly's a guy that's a 4-time Olympic judoka, and he's fighting at home. So the fight's usually probably going to stay standing, and we know with Elias, man, he just dances on the outside, and he flicks the kick, and he flicks the jab, and he doesn't really commit to anything. He doesn't have any stopping power. He's not likely to put Kelly out. The only one saving grace is old man Dan's got some old man knees, and if they blow out in the fight, he's going to get ruled a TKO. So, I mean, there's the possibility.
I just chalk it up to Elias always does better when I get to wear his belt and he hoists me up on his shoulder.
Yeah, the best.
after those moments, he's just rolling. I mean, he's not doing that. That's no good.
Yeah, I mean, both these guys were on The Ultimate Fighter that season of Canada versus Australia, and Elias ended up winning that season, whereas the finalist of that, Elias, ended up beating Sheldon Westcott. He murdered Dan Kelly. But there's a distinction here. Dan Kelly ain't the same guy he was on Tough. He has gotten better. Thing is, he was old on Tough, and he has gotten older as well. He's definitely overachieved his career. His best wins, beating guys like Antonio Carlos Jr. That's a better win than anything Elias has. That's a better fighter than Elias is. However, those days are just behind him. That was a different version of Antonio Carlos Jr. And with Elias, he's just non-committal to anything. So it's going to be a very boring fight. I think it's going to be an atrociously bad fight to watch. However, my boy Elias should get the win.
All right, Cody Saftic. Check him out on Fight Network and at CJ Saftic on Twitter. And, of course, you can follow me at ThePME on Twitter. Don't forget, subscribe to the Pat Mayo Experience audio podcast version for the full fight-by-fight breakdown of the special Dogger Pass Pod with Cody and Paul Shaughnessy. That'll be up on the feed late on Thursday night. Probably like Thursday night around 7. You'll have all the time to watch. Is this a weird start for this?
No, not really. I mean,
it's not like 8 in the morning or something like that?
The only time they do that is like they absolutely have to. But with other cards, they're just like, we'll just start it on late times for them so that people can watch it at a regular time.
All right, so it's nothing crazy?
It's nothing crazy, no.
All right, just be aware of when the lock time is for your DraftKings accounts.
Be aware always with DraftKings because guys fall out last minute. We've seen this week in and week out, Pat. Guys drop out last minute. You don't check. You get a big flat 0 and your line is pretty much screwed. So don't be that guy that forgets to check.
Yeah, and anyone complaining about the rake or anything like that, if someone drops out last minute, enough people don't change, there's the rake paid for right there.
You know what? If you don't got the guy and other teams are affected, hey, suckers, if you got the guy.
It sucks.
Man, what the hell? So that's just the way the game goes sometimes.
Yeah, you gotta be paying attention up until lock.
That's exactly it.
Makes a lot of sense. Anyway, I'm Pat Mayo. Check out the full Dogger Pass podcast up on the Pat Mayo Experience feed right now for more in-depth. And, you know, Paul knows stuff and I don't, so you know, it's probably more in-depth. I'm not gonna lie to you. These are the quick picks. I'm Pat Mayo. Good luck at UFC Sydney. I was gonna say Australia. UFC Sydney this week, all right? We'll see you next time.